Hi, welcome to today's video. I'm Mary Felling, physical therapist. Today I'm going to be showing you a very simple technique you can use to help relieve those knots that you get up here in the shoulders or the strain and discomfort from leaning over a desk all day, the computer, maybe leaning over and helping loved ones. And there's a bonus to this technique. We are working in the shoulders, but it also helps to relieve tension patterns that can come up causing neck pain or tension headaches around the back. All right, let's get started. Okay, so for today's technique, all you need is either a Theracane, which you can just Google. It's Theracane. It's also on Amazon. Looks like this. Really looks like a cane with a couple of little struts coming out, a couple of little bumps like that. Or you can make a homemade technique or a homemade soft tissue mobilization tool. Take a tennis ball, an old cloth or a piece of, I just took an old scarf I don't wear anymore, and I tied the tennis ball up in there, made the knots really close to each side so that the tennis ball can't move through. Either one of these will work. And what you're going to be doing is you're first taking your fingers and you're going to press along the top of your shoulder a little bit to the back, so we're not here in the front near that clavicle, the collarbone. We're back here where the meat of the muscle is. You can go back behind that too, anywhere from here to just where the neck meets the shoulder, and you're pressing in and feeling for tender, tight spots. If you find a tender spot, that's a sign of a place you want to work. Or if you go and you just feel a knot but there's no pain, that is really the best place to work. So some of you won't feel where you're a knot that's hard and painless. That's a sign of a really hard, entrenched knot. Those of you who have that, work there. The rest of us just look for that painful spot. All right, once you found that painful spot and you've got your tool, you put this over your shoulder. You're going to sit on the one end if it's long enough. If not, your hand goes behind and holds the back of it, the end of it, and your other hand is up close to the knot where the tennis ball is. I'm not holding down here because we're going to be in this position 5 minutes. This is a lot of work to hold it down here. Get your hand up real close. Make sure you're over that tennis ball, and then you're going to allow the weight of your arms holding on to your cloth, to that beautiful old scarf you don't use anymore. And you're sinking in. You want to sink in enough that you feel it, but not so much that you're holding your breath. All right? So for those of you who are going to be using the tennis ball and the scarf, those are your instructions. For the rest of you, if you have a Theracane, ouch, we're going to start with this. So I've already found my spot, and you've probably found your spot because we've gone through that part. And once you have found that spot, you're going to allow the Theracane, so we use this part, the ball at the end of the curve, and the top hand presses down towards the base of the cane. The other hand pushes away, and between those two pressures, you get pressing and tension here. So we're going to start the clock. We're going to be here 5 minutes, and once I've pressed in, I've pushed away, I have that pressure going in, and I feel it. I could go much harder, but it would make me kind of tense against the pain, the pressure from the cane, and it might make me hold my breath. So that means it's too much. If you're holding your breath and you're tensing your body, you've got too much pressure. Back off a little bit. Just enough that you feel it. That's all you need. And you can be sitting in any position. You could be standing, really. You could be the passenger princess in a car doing That's a nice thing about this. You can do this anywhere. So I happen to be sitting. You could be in a couch. If you're in a couch, get yourself all the way back so your back of your shoulders are supported. Your low back is supported. You can sit on the floor, cross your legs. Just make sure your spine is nice and tall and you're not doing this, okay? All right, so we've got that first minute down. 4 more minutes. This is a John Barnes myofascial release technique. And so the protocols for myofascial release, myo means muscle, by the way. Fascia is the connective tissue. The protocol for working on the fascia is that you have to be in a position where you're bringing in mechanical energy. So in this case, we're using compression for our mechanical energy, minimum of 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes to elicit this bioelectric flow called the piezoelectric effect. And after 5 minutes of mechanical energy into the body, it elicits the piezoelectric effect, the bioelectric flow, and it moves through the fascia. Fascia is kind of like the copper wire in our body. And so as it moves through the fascia and it comes to an area like one of these knots that you might have in your shoulder, known as a myofascial restriction, it causes that restriction to soften, rehydrate, and elongate. So when our body goes through any kind of an injury, like a overuse, repetitive use, those are injuries actually, as far as the fascia is concerned. When we have repetitive use or overuse in an area, when we've had stress in our lives, just being a human being alive on this planet, when there has been maybe an accident, maybe you got hit on the shoulder with something, or you had a fall, or surgery, all of these things cause fascia to bind down, dehydrate, and get glued and thickened down. That's called a myofascial restriction. These myofascial restrictions can place up to 2,000 pounds of force per square inch. That is a lot of crushing pressure, and that pressure happens to be right where there's muscle, which is pain sensitive, nerves, blood vessels, everything in our shoulders are pain sensitive. Everything in our body is pain sensitive. So these myofascial restrictions cause pain and loss of mobility. The reason the fascia is so important to work on, and we found this more and more in the last 30, 40 years, especially in the last 10 to 15. It's just, you can't go anywhere hardly without seeing the word fascia or myofascial. It's so important to work on the fascia because the fascia surrounds, supports, and infuses everything in our body, not only the muscles, but also our nerves, our blood vessels, our ligaments, our organs, our brain, spinal cord, bones, everything has a sinewy cobweb rounded through it and supporting it. So when we get those fascial restrictions I was talking about, oh, and by the way, this fascia runs from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head, front to back and side to side. It's a whole body system and it's uninterrupted. It's all connected. So continue holding this where you're at. I'm going to just demonstrate a fascial piece of information. If I wore one of my grandmother's sweaters that she knit for me and I caught it and I got a pull in one area, you can see how that snag is causing tension into other areas of the sweater. That's the same in our fascia. If there is a myofascial restriction in one part of your sweater of fascia, it will pull through the rest of the fascia, other places. So that's why sometimes working in here helps to relieve pressure up into your head and your neck. All right, we're coming up to the end of the 5 minutes. Please continue for another 2 or 3 if you'd like. You'll just get more releases and more pain relieving ability here. All right, so you would also finish with this side. So if you're going to keep going 7 or 8 minutes, make sure you do your other side. And it's fine to do 2 or 3 spots at a time because usually we have multiple myofascial restrictions in a given area. So if you're somebody with really tight upper traps and get knots here a lot, then I would do maybe 2 or 3 spots, 6 or 7 minutes each, and then go to your other side. Do this every day for a minimum of 14 days. And then after it, you can just drop down to maybe 2 or 3 times a week to help to maintain those positive changes you're getting. All right, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. The beauty of that is you'll get notified every time one of my new videos is uploaded, and then it allows you to continue self-treating, taking care of yourself, and maintain that pain-free lifestyle that you deserve. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in our next video.